Good evening. We begin tonight with continuing coverage on the deadly plane crash in Lyon County, Kentucky last night. We have just been informed a news conference with the National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, will happen tomorrow before noon. We are still working to finalize those details, but again, we will be at that news conference tomorrow. Meantime, Kentucky State Police released the names of those 4 victims. Kim Gutzler, on the left you see, and her husband Marty were on board that plane that went down sometime between 5:55 and 6:30 last night near the Suwannee community of Lyon County. This picture, courtesy of NBC News, shows the couple vacationing in Key West, Florida. Now we want to show you a picture of the survivor here. That is 7-year-old Taylor Gutzler, again the lone survivor of that plane crash. Federal Aviation Administration officials, however, say the plane was en route back to Mount Vernon, Illinois from Key West, Florida, where Marty Gutzler made a distress call reporting engine problems. The couple's 9-year-old daughter Piper and her cousin 14-year-old Sierra Wilder also died. The NTSB will be working the course of there for several days to come to determine a cause. Local 6's Juliana Valencia went to that crash site today and met with the man who found the only survivor on his doorstep. Again, Sailor Gutzler there, bloodied and bruised, looking for help. That is tonight's top story.
One light, the only source of guidance for one 7-year-old girl.
Legs and all scratched up, arms scratched up, bloody nose, crying, and she said her mom and dad were dead.
Larry Wilkins answered his door to find the only survivor of a plane crash that killed 4 members of her family.
Nobody heard the plane. That's what was amazing to me. Couldn't see it, couldn't hear it, and hell, I didn't find it for 2.5, 3 hours.
About 6:30 last night, Kentucky State Police started searching through the woods in the rain for a small plane south of Catawba. The plane had been flying from Florida to Mount Vernon, Illinois.
But it is in one piece. It's recognizable as an aircraft. It's just upside down.
Its passengers, Kim and Marty Gutzler, their 2 daughters, and 14-year-old niece. 7-year-old Sailor Gutzler was the only survivor.
We're talking about a 7-year-old girl who basically fell out of the sky into a very dark and lonely place.
Through heavy brush piles full of thorns, Wilkins says the 7-year-old girl walked through this thick wooded area in complete darkness to try to find some help.
Barefooted. She had 1 sock and dressed for Florida. She had on short pants and a light shirt.
Wilkins comforted Sailor, staying by her side until EMS arrived.
She wanted me to go with her. They wouldn't let me go. Tough kid.
He's hoping to see her again so he can tell her how brave she is. In Lyon County, Juliana Valencia, WPSD Local 6.
Well, Sailor Gutzler was treated and released from Lourdes Hospital early this morning. Now, we've posted the entire interview with Wilkins on our web channel, WPSDLocal6.com. Just look for this story on our homepage. And a Gutzler family spokesperson released this statement today, quote, "We are devastated by this loss, but are confident that they rest in God's loving arms. We ask that you respect our privacy at this difficult time. Please pray for us, especially for Sailor."
The Federal Aviation Administration says the pilot reported engine problems before the crash. Local 6's Juliana Valencia met with the FAA and NTSB today and shows us how they're working to find answers.
From the sky to the ground, recovery efforts are working to move what's left of this plane by road. A crash leaving only 1 survivor, 7-year-old Sailor Gutzler, killing her mom, dad, sister, and cousin. Kentucky State Police Lieutenant Brent White says as the plane lay upside down, Sailor tried waking up her family.
She utilized her non-injured arm and hand to free herself from the aircraft.
He says she hoped they were sleeping and went to look for help through the dark Friday night. Now, instead of looking for survivors, the National Transportation Safety Board is looking for evidence.
It could be ground scars, marks on the trees, fuel, any type of liquid that could come out of the airplane.
They're gathering the plane piece by piece to take back for inspection to hopefully find answers as to what led to the crash.
Once we take the airplane back to the salvage facility, we'll be going more in-depth investigation into the airframe and looking to make sure everything was working all right and take a better look at the engines.
Heidi Motes with the NTSB says figuring out why this plane is in pieces will take time. but there is reason to believe the Gutzlers knew they were going down.
There was evidence to me that indicated that they were possibly bracing for a crash landing.
Holding on to hope, and maybe each other in their final moments. In Lyon County, Juliana Valencia, WPSD Local 6.
The Gutzler family has created a fund for the 7-year-old survivor. They're asking for monetary donations so they can afford to get her the emotional, physical, and educational support she'll need in the future.
More now on that plane crash that killed 4 family members on Friday night. The site is now clear. The National Transportation Safety Board has removed all debris from that plane crash Friday in Lyon County, Kentucky. Pieces of the plane are now at a center in Clarksville, Tennessee for investigation. Crews have been working in the area since Friday night when a 7-year-old girl told police she was the plane's only survivor. A crash that killed Sailor Gutzler's mom and dad, Kim and Marty Gutzler, as well as her cousin Piper and sister Piper and cousin Sierra. The plane flew from Key West, where the family was vacationing. It stopped in Tallahassee and continued to its destination, Mount Vernon, Illinois, but crashed west of Catawba. They were trying to make it to Kentucky Dam Airport for an emergency landing less than 10 miles away. Local 6's Juliana Valencia joins us live now in the studio. Juliana.
From above, this plane wreckage looks horrible, scattered in pieces. All weekend, we were confined to the edge of the woods leading up to the crash site. Tonight, for the first time, we take a look at where 7-year-old Sailor crash landed and how she made it out alive. It's quiet. Aside from a bird or two, it's peaceful. Something that couldn't be said for these woods this past weekend.
Right here where I'm standing is where the plane came to rest.
One of the first to find the crash site, Lyon County Executive Judge Wade White looks back on how it felt.
Basically sick at my stomach, thinking of the people that were in there and also the struggle that Sailor had to go through.
Sailor Gutzler is the only survivor of a plane crash that killed her mom, dad, sister, and cousin. She suffered cuts and a broken wrist.
She had all the odds against her. Basically no clothes on, shorts, t-shirt, one sock. It was 39 degrees. It was raining. It was completely dark.
He believes she wasn't alone.
Even though she is a strong little girl, I believe God was leading her out by her hand.
The plane was laying upside down right over here. Sailor crawled through a hole on this side of the plane, walked around to a small fire. She tried lighting some sticks, but they wouldn't light because of the rain. So she got up and started walking this way.
She had 100 choices of directions she could have picked.
I followed White into the woods through branches and briar patches filled with thorns.
Yeah, we're having trouble getting through. We got 2 arms, we got sunlight, we got protective clothing.
Remember, little Sailor walked through these very woods in complete darkness. So can you imagine, after walking more than 30 minutes, her relief, just for a few seconds as she spotted this house, a way to finally find help.
While reflecting on a tragedy a week ago today, we talked to Larry Wilkins. He's the man who opened his door to the only survivor of a deadly plane crash in Lyon County.
7-year-old Sailor Gutzler lost her parents, sister, and her cousin in that crash. Tonight, we hear from Wilkins again. Local 6's Juliana Valencia shows us how the public is now responding to him with good deeds of their own.
Thank you.
This cup of joe is on the house. A lot of strangers are saying thanks to Larry Wilkins.
Once in a lifetime experience for me, and God, I hope it don't ever happen again.
A tragic experience, opening his door to a bloodied and bruised 7-year-old girl asking for help. Sailor Gutzler lived through a plane crash that killed 4 family members in the woods near Wilkins' home.
Her struggle just now beginning.
He says all he did was open a door, but since he's opened it, gratitude's been pouring in.
I've done nothing to deserve anything like that, you know.
Letters from across the country.
That one's from Pennsylvania. This one's from a little lady in Connecticut, 93 years old. Says she got 9 children.
Someone from Indiana sent him a $200 gift card to this restaurant. Even his 2 dogs, Bonnie and Pete, are getting attention. A man in Arizona started a chain email to send them treats for being heroes. Their barks got Wilkins to the door.
Do you think that what she'd been through, scared that she'd have pounded on that door like a madman, that you barely knocked?
It's the pups that helped Sailor feel safe.
Both of them went right to her. She said that was a real comfort.
A feeling he hopes Sailor doesn't forget, because he'll never forget her. In Lyon County, Juliana Valencia, WPST Local 6.
Wilkins has been keeping in touch with Sailor's grandfather. He hopes to catch up with her in person next month.